Good evening, folks. Welcome back to the channel. Great to see you. It always is. I hope you're doing well. We're into day 3 over in Austria and in Switzerland. As always, we'll be touching on each and every one of these matches that we've got for today. So get your predictions in the comments. Anything that I'm going for personally will be in the pinned comments. You're more than welcome to take a look at that. You do with it as you please. You take it if you want, leave it if you must. It's entirely up to you. The choice will always be yours. But like the video, get yourself subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Very close to 3k now, folks. We continue to grow each and every day. Get yourself involved. It'd be an honour to welcome you to the team. But we'll do a quick recap. It's recap time for the recap. How did we all get on in day 2? Did we win? Did we lose? Did we just come close? Most importantly, did we enjoy those matches of tennis? I'll go first. I had Ralia and Lorenzo Musetti. Ralia light work against Sebastian Baez. Tsitsipas ended up pulling out, so that ended up being void. Didn't win as much as I had originally planned, but it's still better than nothing. I'll take one win and one void on a parlay than one win and one loss, and then we get nothing. So I can most definitely work with that. The majority of the outrights still live and breathe as well. It's a bit of a shame for Giovanni and Pecci Pericard, but I'm not going to take anything away from Joao Fonseca. He looked fantastic in that match. But we're in a good spot. No damage done. Get yourself involved. Don't be shy. Share with the group. Let us all know how you managed, and we'll waste no more time with it. Let's get into business, folks. Let's get it on. First one is Van der Zandschulp and Jiří Lehecka. Could be an interesting match. I'd have to go with Jiří Lehecka in this one. I'd have to side with him getting this one done. Now, they've played each other twice before. You're going back to 2022 and then 21. Head-to-head is 2-0 to Jiří Lehecka. Once on the indoor court, and then first time out it was on the clay. Kind of irrelevant in this match today. Now, given what we've come to expect and given what we know from the pair of these, when it comes to hard-court tennis, it's kind of easy for me to sit here and say Jiří Lehecka should be getting this one done. 22 wins, 10 losses on the hard court, 4 and 2 indoors. As for Van der Zandschulp, 13 and 11 on the hard court. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's better than some. It's better than quite a lot for that fact, but it ain't quite as good as Jiří Lehecka's, if we're being honest. Van der Zandschulp for the past season or two, he's kind of been doing bits on the clay. Kind of been doing bits over on the dirt, but when it does come to indoor tennis, he does possess somewhat of a game. He's had his seasons. He's had very good seasons in the past on the indoor court. Maybe not so much this year. But we haven't really played on it that much. But even last year he went 3 and 4. He's 2 and 5 this year. But then in 2023, 11 and 7. There's a 13 and 5, a 12 and 6, a 30 and 8. You know, like I say, there's definitely something there. Yeah, and Jiří Lehecka is a big favourite. 1.3, 1.35. I expected that. I expected it. He's more trustworthy, well, dare I say, much more trustworthy. I don't really like using that word anymore on this tour, but he's much more suited to the surface. He's the better player, isn't he? He's just a better player in general, to be quite frank. 1.35 is a bit steep. You're getting Van der Zandschulp around 3.4. He's a big dog. He's a big dog, and you know what he can be like. We know just as good as anyone when you get a matchup like this. And just when you think he stands no chance, these are usually the games where he turns up and looks 10 times better than what you've ever seen him look before. He does tend to operate well as a dog. As a matter of fact, I think Van der Zandschulp just thrives on underdog status. I really do. Maybe only just slightly. This much of an underdog, I wouldn't be so sure. As a matter of fact, around this price, call it 3.3 to 3.4, over the 2-1 dog anyway. I've got Van der Zandschulp winning just over 10%, call it 11% of these matches at this price. As for Jiří Lehecka, 1.3, just over 3/4, 76%. Yeah, kind of makes sense. It does kind of make sense. Is Van der Zandschulp going to pull off another big upset in there? Well, I say a big upset. Is he going to pull off? Well, this would be a big upset. I don't know about another one. The one against Fonseca kind of felt like a big upset, but this one would definitely be a bigger upset than that. Considering Van der Zandschulp didn't even get through qualifying as well. You know what I mean? Like, what would Jiří Lehecka have to do in this in order to lose? Is getting to the final in Belgium last week would that have taken everything out of him? This will be the case for quite a lot of these matches as well. Depending on how deep they went last week, there will be a couple of concerns regarding the fitness. So at 1.3, I don't think I'd be getting there on Lehecka today, but I am expecting him to get it done. So we'll move on to Sebastian Korda, Hugo Humbert. My heart says Hugo Humbert, as it always will. But my head kind of says Sebastian Korda. I'm kind of gravitating more towards Sebastian Korda. I'm kind of talking myself into it as the hours are going by. Played each other once before, 4 years ago, on the grass. Just about went the way of Hugo Humbert. Now, I've been saying for the past few days, haven't we? Especially all throughout Sweden last week. Hugo Humbert, when it comes to indoor tennis, he's one of the best. He's by far one of the best. There's no doubt about that. We're comparing it to Sebastian Korda. It's night and day. Korda's went 2-2 this year, 1-2 last year, 4-3 before that, and it pretty much remains the same. As for Hugo Humbert, 7-1, 10-3, 12-5, 11-6. This is where he does the damage. This is where this guy shines. Just hard court tennis in general. He's very good on the hard court. He's always been good. He's always been one of my favourites as well. But how many times have we said this season Hugo Humbert has been half the man he used to be? Half the man he used to be. And now, I could say the same for Sebastian Korda. I could say the same for Sebastian Korda. The pair of these have been really struggling. They've been dealing with, their own shit, haven't they? They've had some injuries and whatnot. Struggling with fitness, struggling with form, what have you. Now, although Hugo Humbert getting to the final last week, I was very delighted. You know me, like I said, I'm a big Hugo Humbert fan. I was very, very happy, extremely delighted to see him get to that final. But fuck me, how lucky was he to get to that final? How lucky was he to even get to that final? Personally, he was done against Holger Rune. He weren't beating Holger Rune. He was done. Curtains, finished. You know it, I know it. Until Holger Rune done what he done. Get well soon, Holger Rune as well. Tip of the cap to him. But speaking on Holger Rune, actually, it looks like, did you see? He was saying it's probably going to be out to the US Open. That's if he's lucky. That's we feared the worst, didn't we? We feared the worst. We knew he was going to be out for quite some time, but you could be looking at a whole season sort of ordeal with Holger Rune. That's neither here nor there. We'll touch on that some other time. But as for Hugo Humbert, he looked decent against Berrettini. But then again, Berrettini's been well off it. He's been well off it. He's been struggling for what seems like forever now. But he did look good against him. The game against Sonego, like we said, he looked super dicey. He looked so ropey, so uncomfortable. He did not look in control in that first set. All Sonego had to do was just remain strong behind the serve, and I'm sure he'd have won that. Whatever happened to him in that second set, I can't tell you. You just can't write it. But for the most part in that first set, he just served. And then Hugo Humbert, it seemed to me, every other backhand was just going into the top of the net. You could see him getting frustrated with it. But he managed to get past Sonego. Bit of luck. Sprinkle a little bit of luck on that. He did get past Lorenzo Sonego. And if we sprinkle a bit of luck on that, you're tipping the old pot of luck on that one with Holger Rune. The whole pot of luck got sprinkled all over that one, didn't it? I mean, I just can't believe it. You just can't write it, man. You can't write it whatsoever. And he turned up in the final against Casper Ruud. And just when I needed him to turn up and play good, I didn't bet on it, but he stood no chance. He couldn't do anything against Casper Ruud. I just think Hugo Humbert, ever since he had that wrist injury, he just hasn't looked the same. And as much as I've wanted him to go deep, and as much as I've wanted a good run from Hugo Humbert, I suppose technically on paper I got one. I don't think it's enough. I don't think I've seen enough. I really don't. Sebastian Korda, although the results as of late probably aren't exactly where they need to be for Sebastian Korda, I imagine he'd be the first to admit that. He's definitely getting back to fitness, most definitely back into match fitness. Like I say, whether the ability is there or not shall remain to be seen, but he seems to be on the right track, on the right path. As to Hugo Humbert, he's zigzagging all over the road. He's like a piss driver, isn't he? Sometimes you can't tell, and then you go, oh shit, he's skewed off, where's he gone? Plus, with all that being said, there's been a shit ton of cash coming on Sebastian Korda overnight as well. he opened up as a dog, and these have completely flipped over as well. Opened up around, say, 2.1, 2.2, something like that, was it? Yeah, he opened up around 2.1. He's now sitting at 1.7. Now Humbert is the underdog in this, and there's still cash coming in on Sebastian Korda. That kind of worries me. Like I say, any other season, I'd have took Humbert in a heartbeat. I just can't trust him to get this one done. And like I say, maybe there's something going on that I'm not aware of, because that is a shit ton of cash. All of a sudden, a lot of people seem to be very certain in Sebastian Korda today. So, going off what I've seen against Lorenzo Sonego, Sebastian Korda can do all that and more. If all he has to do is just turn up and remain solid and remain strong behind that save, and he can definitely do that. I fear Humbert may just do the rest. And that's me saying that, yet I am very concerned for Humbert in this one. I'm not going to lie to you folks, I'd love to see him win, but I don't think I could trust him to get this one done. I'd maybe just take Sebastian Korda for a set as a parlay piece, and then we'll assess the situation come tomorrow. But we'll move on to Casper Ruud and Quinton Halys. For what it's worth, look, for the sake of the prediction, it'd have to be Casper Ruud. Head-to-head's 2-1. They haven't met each other for the past 2 years. Quinton Halys beat him the first time in 2017. Doesn't really do much for us in this one today. We are getting Casper Ruud around 1.2. Quinton Halys 4.5. Massive dog, big price, big spread. Now, if Casper Ruud hadn't just won that title last week, I'd be sitting here. We'd have already been done with it by now. We'd have been on to the next one. There's always going to be a couple of concerns. You've just won a title. More often than not, we see them turn up and they're just not as inspired to do so much in the next one. It's the way of the water. It is what it is. It's whatever. Casper Ruud, I mean, even with that being the case, I would still like to think he can get past Quinton Halys. Quinton Halys, man, I mean, on his day, on the hard court, he poses a bit of a threat, but let's be real, this guy hasn't been beating fucking anybody. This guy's done nothing for ages. I mean, I can't remember the last time he put together back-to-back wins. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you right now, give me one sec. Back-to-back wins for Quinton Halys. We're going back to, we're in the clay, yeah. French Open, that's right. Now, he did beat Alexander Shevchenko in qualifying, but then he got beaten straight sets by Remy Batola, 6-4, 6-4. And we see what Yami Munar just done to him the other day. It's not looking good for Quinton Halys. It's a damn shame, because he's much better than what he's performing at the moment, that's for sure. Probably got no business taking out Casper Ruud. Even if Casper Ruud's just a little bit fatigued, a little bit tired, I feel like it's going to take a massive drop off from Casper Ruud and one hell of a rise in confidence on the level from Quinton Halys to get this one done. I won't be touching it. As you know, I've still got Casper Ruud on an outright to, can't even remember what I've got him to do. I don't think it's to win it. It's to get to a certain distance at quarterfinals. I don't know. It's in the pinned comments anyway. I'll check in a bit. But I would have to back him in this one. I would have to assume he gets this one done. Even if he is, coming off a title or not, it'll be Casper Ruud every day of the week for me against the current version of Quinton Halys. Aliassime and Gabe Diallo. Got ourselves an all-Canadian shootout in this one. Could be a decent one. Could be rather interesting indeed. I'd have to go with Felix. I would have to go with Felix in this one, folks. It's quite a simple one for me to pick. Your only concern will be the gas tank of Felix, I suppose. How much has he got left? Is he going to be inspired enough to go on yet another deep run? As we know, he did just take that title over in Belgium last week, and it was a decent run as well. Demir Juma, Spazzeri, Collignon and Yuri Lehecka in the final. How much has he got left to give shall remain to be seen. But I mean, since we've come back to the hard court, this season, if it's anything to go off, he should be good. Semi-finals in the US Open. Let me go back a little bit before that. One moment. That won't do it justice. Yeah, quarterfinals in Cincinnati. Jannik Sinner had to beat him. Semi-finals in the US Open. Jannik Sinner had to beat him again. Quarterfinals in the Shanghai Masters. Rinderknecht had to beat him. No shame in that. And then I'm not surprised he went on yet another good run. I say a good run. He won the title. He won it. Won the whole thing over in Brussels last week. So like I said, these deep runs, he's been no stranger to him. Maybe he's more than equipped to carry on going. As for Gabe Diallo, I mean, ever since that title he got in Den Bosch, man, it was a decent title. I can't take it away from him. He really ain't really done, well, he hasn't done anything prior to that title. And ever since winning it, he's done nothing since. As a matter of fact, can't remember when he won back-to-back matches, even being honest with you. Well, he did in Shanghai, I know that, but even before Shanghai, the form hasn't been there. The momentum has certainly not been there either. 16 and 15 on the hard court, 1-1 indoors. It's nothing, is it? Nothing compared to what we've seen from his fellow countrymen, if I'm being honest. Like I say, look, 1.4 for Felix. It was 1.5, it's now 1.4. People are taking it. People fancy a piece of him. Based on what we've seen and what we know, it would have to be Felix. Now, if he turns up and he's got nothing left to give, then so be it. It happens to the best of them. As a matter of fact, it happens more often than not. We see that happen, coming off a quick turnaround after a deep run, or especially a title victory. So just keep an eye on it. I think the service games of Gabe Diallo when they're firing, they can be tough to deal with on slower surfaces, so I imagine they can be equally, if not harder, as tough to deal with today. We'll see how he gets on. I think Felix should just have more in the bag, providing he's got enough to give. So we'll move on to Jensen Brooksby and Alejandro Davidovich Fokina. Tough one, man. Just as I was sitting here thinking, you know what, Davidovich Fokina might be due a decent run this week over in the Swiss indoors. He's got to play Jensen Brooksby, and he looked really good against Alexander Muller. Now, in the first round, safe to say we expected the pair of these to get past both of their opponents. Davidovich Fokina got past Sonego in straight sets, kind of back and forth, anything but easy. It was give or take, rather give or take for the most part. Tiebreaker in the first, 6-4 in the second. And then Jensen Brooksby against Alexander Muller. He just looked in complete control from the get-go against Alexander Muller. He looked fantastic statistically as well. He played a little bit better, if not a lot better, than Davidovich Fokina in every single area. In all the areas that matter anyway. Head-to-head 1-0 to Jensen Brooksby. That was in 2021 on the indoor hard court, 7-5, and the bagel in the second. That's right, that was in the quarterfinals of Antwerp. It's a close one. It's a close one. Like, given what we've seen on the hard court this season, you'd say Davidovich Fokina, he's been a lot more lethal. He's been a hell of a lot more lethal than that of Jensen Brooksby, that's for sure. 22 wins, 14 losses, 3-2 indoors for the Spaniard. As for Jensen Brooksby, 10-10 on the hard court, 1-2 indoors. I think he's we got the best version of Jensen Brooksby earlier on the clay when we were in the States, the American clay. And then over on the grass, over in Eastbourne, wasn't it, I think? Was it Eastbourne? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Hard court, not so much. Very 50-50. But we are aware that when Jensen Brooksby can put in a performance like that, when he can turn up and deliver this sort of level, he's very difficult to deal with, man. He possesses a very strong counter-punching style, and I see it every time when he plays good. That's the biggest thing that jumps out to me. He puts everything back, and he makes you play tennis. Davidovich Fokina, not so much. Bit more on the aggressive side, Like I say, for the most part, he looked really good. Their opponents didn't really stand much of a chance in hindsight. Like I say, we did expect them to get it done. Yeah, and Davidovich Fokina around 1.7. I don't think there's a lot to split these ones. I really don't. Like I say, on paper, if you were just taking it on paper, it'd make your mind up for you, and you'd just say the Spaniard. You'd just say Davidovich Fokina, and let's be done with it. But I don't think it's as cut and dry as that. I think Jensen Brooksby might be good for at least a set. He might be good for at least a set. I mean, look, regardless of how good Davidovich Fokina played against Sonego, this guy's had 4 back-to-back second round exits. That's right. Is it Washington or Cincinnati? One of them? I can't remember the last time he went on a decent run. But he's in no form whatsoever. The consistency is not there at all. He beat Shevchenko, got beat by Rinderknech. Ugo Carabelli, beat by Medvedev. Beat Arnaldi, beat by Medvedev. Beat Marcus Giron, beat by Collignon. Now, he's just beat Lorenzo Sonego. Would you be surprised to see him get beat by the current version of Jensen Brooksby, providing we get the same one that turned up against Alexander Muller? Probably not. He opened up around 2.3. Jensen Brooksby, that is. He's now sitting around 2.1. Clearly, I'm not the only one with the feeling that he could do a bit of damage today to Davidovich Fokina. Like I say, I mean, 4 second-round exits in a row. Nothing to suggest he's going to go on that much of a tear in this, although I did have a feeling he could have done. I don't know what made me feel that. I thought that maybe he could have added to his ranking or whatever this week. I'm not too sure, but like I say, Jensen Brooksby, I didn't expect him to play as good as he did against Alexander Muller. He looked really decent. He looked fantastic. He looked like he could definitely be a problem for the Spaniard today. So if I was touching that, I'd maybe look at Jensen Brooksby just for the one set. Just for the one. Taylor Fritz and Valentin Vacherot could be a good one. Do you think if these would have played each other in the Shanghai Masters, do you think Valentin Vacherot would have beat him then? Maybe. Do you think he beats him now? He could do. I'm very interested to see what version of both of these turn up today, for that fact. I really am. I feel like I haven't seen Taylor Fritz for quite some time now. It hasn't been that long. You know, we did get to the final over in Tokyo, beaten by Alcaraz, of course. Bit of a disappointing one in the Shanghai Masters. Was it fatigue? Maybe not. Had a rough match against Fabio Marizon. I didn't think he was going to make it out of that second set. Dropped the first set 6-2, and then it took 2 tiebreakers from the American to see that one through in the second and third. Once again, turned up against Gio and Pecci Pericard and stood no chance whatsoever. And then he pissed off over to Saudi, beat Zverev, beat by Alcaraz again, and then he played Djokovic until Djokovic pulled out. And now he's back. With a fat wedge in his bank account. And now he's got to play in the Swiss indoors. I'd say, how's he gonna be looking? Is he gonna be ready for it? But I seen the way Zverev looked after coming back from Saudi, and he looked like garbage there. I know he managed to get it done, but wow, he really concerned me. I was very worried for me outright with Zverev against Jacob Fernley. So maybe Taylor Fritz is going to be feeling a bit worse for wear. I don't know exactly how much these got paid to be over there, but I imagine it's going to be a hell of a lot more than what you're getting paid to compete in the Swiss indoors, that's for sure. I'll say, don't know what version of Taylor Fritz we're going to get. Not too sure. I'm going to have to wait and see. Valentin Vacherot, after that Shanghai Masters, prior to it, this guy weren't doing anything. He weren't doing anything. Like, was he? I can't even remember where he was ranked. I'm sure it was outside the 200. Now he's inside the top 40. Nuts. Absolute madness. You can't say he doesn't deserve it. He was fantastic in Shanghai. What's he got in the indoors? What's he got in the Swiss indoors? How much has he got to give? I'm not going to say how much has he got left to give, because he should be good to go. He's had a week or two off in preparation for this. Prior to Shanghai, if these would have played each other, I'd have taken Taylor Fritz every single day of the week. I would have, you would have, we wouldn't have even questioned it, that's for sure. But post Shanghai Masters, I can't help but sit here thinking, Valentin Vacherot, surely he's going to turn up for this one. I hate to be the one to say it, but every now and then you'd have to mention it, don't you? After winning that Shanghai Masters, are you going to be inspired enough? Are you going to be bothered about the Swiss indoors? I think for someone like Valentin Vacherot, kind of struggling prior to winning the title. Now you have won the title, you're not exactly in a position to just turn up and be uninspired, are you? And just be like, oh, it is what it is, we'll just sit this one out. No. You've planted your flag in the tour, you've made your statement, you've staked your claim. Now you've got to follow up. He was fantastic in Shanghai. His service games were shit hot. They were shit hot. Taylor Fritz, his service games is shit hot for the most part. You can't do anything against him. If he's feeling a little bit worse for wear, even when Taylor Fritz is feeling a little bit off the boil, he's still very hard to beat, and he's always very, very hard to break. Valentin Vacherot, he might have a little bit more about him today. If we get Shanghai Vacherot, I don't see why he couldn't turn up and give Taylor Fritz a very good go today. You're getting him as a big dog as well. 4.5 for Vacherot, call it 1.2 for Taylor Fritz. I couldn't get there with Taylor Fritz at 1.2. Absolutely not. It would have to be Valentin Vacherot on that spread, whatever it may be. Going to be 3.5, perhaps, maybe 4.5. If it's 4.5, done deal. 3.5, I may consider it. I might take some convincing in order to get. Let's wrap this shit up. Over in the Swiss indoors, we've got Jakob Mensik and Joao Fonseca. You know what? I'm leaning more towards Joao Fonseca in this one. I just am. Now, when I got this, these were split right down the middle. Fonseca did open up as a slight dog. It's split down the middle. Is what I got it at anyway. I'm now seeing this at 1.7 for Joao Fonseca, sub 1.7, depending where you look. Quite a lot of people taking a piece of the Brazilian today. These have played each other once before. We've seen this in the next gens at the end of last year, and it was a close game. I know the format's different. You know, they only play, it's like 3-4s in it, 4-3s, what have you. They play first to 4, or they play 3 each, and then it's a tie break, and then it's 4-3 for the set. That went 3-2 to the Brazilian. He was really good in the next gens as well. I think what he done against Gio and Pericard, not only what he done, I think for the most part Gio looked decent as well. He done exactly what we knew he was going to do. He was going to turn up and he was going to save. There weren't a lot in it. Fonseca, he was just a better player today. He was much better. And not only that, it weren't even because Gio played shit. Like I say, Fonseca played very well indeed. He was very strong beyond the serve. He was just a better player than Giovanni and Pericard. You know, it's no secret to us that the return game of the Frenchman is somewhat non-existent. Fonseca just had all the shots. He just had more about him on the day, and then it come to the second set, and then it really did get away from him, Pericard. But I'd say Fonseca managed to deal with the serve, but he didn't really manage to deal with the serve because there's not a lot you can do with it when it's the serve of Gio. But he managed to hold his own serve. That's it. He kept it tight. He kept it locked in. He was dialed in, and he's seen that one through. And he performed at a very high level. So I will tip the cap to the young Brazilian in that. Jakob Mensik, not so much. Although he did get past, was it Benet? Henry Benet, I think his name was, in the first round. It was anything but easy. 2 tiebreakers. He dropped the tiebreak in the second, and it took a 6-3 in the third set to get past the home kid. Now, prior to that tournament, prior to that match rather, that lad was on the ITF tour, and he turned up and he took Jakob Mensik to a third set. I think Fonseca's going to beat him. I do. I think the match against Gio and Pericard, as far as like the service games, the service power and whatnot, it's a perfect warm-up for someone like Jakob Mensik. A perfect warm-up. Anyone else? Is that just me? I'm not too sure. I'm not really one, you know. I had Gio on the outright. It was a decent price. I did think if he could get past Fonseca, the next two may have been a bit easier, but apparently not. It's all good. The rest of them still live and breathe. I don't really, you know, I didn't even take Gio, but let's say, you know, I thought he was going to win. He didn't. I never really just backed the person that beat the guy I thought was going to win, you know what I mean, just because. But I do feel like Fonseca stands a really good chance. I do feel like, I'm not going to say he should be getting it done, but I kind of agree with him being the favourite now. I do. I seen him when he was a dog and I thought, oh, that's very tempting. Then I caught it split down the middle, and then I just took it. There it is. You've probably seen it in the pinned comments anyway. I took that at 1.9 while it was 1.9. And it went down to 1.85 to 1.8 to 1.75 to 1.7, and now it's sitting at 1.67, depending where you look. I don't know. I'm not too sure. We'll see how it goes anyway. I say I kind of escaped the first round relatively unscathed. I feel like I could take a punt on Joao Fonseca seeing this one out today. Like I say, I was rather impressed. I feel like if you can do that and hold your shit against Gio, you should be able to repeat it and do the same against Jakob Mensik. Over in Austria is Thomas Machac and Flavio Cobolli. I think I'd have to go with Thomas Machac. I would have to side with Thomas Machac in this for the most part. I mean, look, when we're talking hardcore tennis, I wouldn't have said Flavio Cobolli was much match for Thomas Machac on the day. played each other 4 times head to head, is 4-0 to, that's right, Thomas Machac. Played each other in the Ultimate Tennis Showdown, he won that. Played each other at the start of the year in the United Cup, and it was an absolute beatdown as well. 6-1, 6-2. And then you're going back to 2022 when he beat him twice there as well. Look, it would be a slight lean, and I do mean a slight lean. I wouldn't pick it with a lot of conviction. I haven't seen too much from Thomas Machac this season. Pretty much since he won that title over in Acapulco. 15-9 on the hard court, 2-1 indoors. It's decent. It's better than Flavio Cobolli. It's much better. 9 wins in 13 for the Italian. 4-4 indoors. We know he does all the damage over on the clay. These quick conditions, they really do suit Thomas Machac, man. He's lethal on these hard courts when he turns up. You've just got to get him. You've just got to get him to turn up. That seems to be the majority of the battle with this guy. Had a decent US Open. Bumped into Taylor Fritz in the round of 16. Not too much you're going to do in that one. Tried his hand on the Asian swing. Went 1-2. Not much to write home about at all. Vacherot beat him in straight sets. And then he beat Matteo Bellucci. And then the game against Vacherot, I don't know what happened there. So this is where a lot of the concern is coming from. He got bageled, and then it was 3-1, and then he pulled out, and we haven't seen him since. Flavio Cobolli had about just as much success over on the Asian tour as what Thomas Machac did. He went 1-2. He beat Rublev. What a surprise. And then CM beat him, and Jami Munar beat him. But now coming back over to Europe, he has got 2 games under the belt. He beat Dinky over in Kazakhstan, and then James Duckworth beat him in the quarterfinals, and now he plays Thomas Machac. Like I said, I'm not going to waste too much time on it. I'm not going to dance around this one too much. Thomas Machac or nothing. It's the hard court. Providing he's fit, I hope he's fit. I wouldn't be willing to roll the dice on it, especially after what we've seen against Valentin Vacherot. It was at the start of the month. He's had 2 or 3 weeks off in preparation for this. He should be alright. 2.5, call it. We'll see. We'll see how he looks. Well, like I say, if we're getting the best of the two of them, it's Thomas Machac every single day of the week, given the conditions. So we'll move on to Alexei Popyrin and Matteo Berrettini. Who wins this? There's got to be one. It's got to be one of them. Who is it going to be? Head-to-head is 3-1 to Berrettini. Now, these haven't played each other since last year. Popyrin did beat him in the Paris Masters on the indoor courts around this time last year, 7-5 in a tie-break in the first round. And then Berrettini won the first 3, 2019, 2020, 2021. Hasn't beaten for 4 years. How's he going to get on today? How is he going to fare against the Australian today? Berrettini's been struggling. He's been struggling for quite some time. Since Wimbledon pretty much, and he continues to struggle. This season has been somewhat of a write-off for the Italian, 1-2 indoors, 10-9 in the hardcore, 4-3 on the clay. Nothing compared to what we expect and what we used to last year. 15-1, remember how good he was on the clay. We took him every single match pretty much. 15-1. Now he's on 4-3. Hard court. It's give and take. He's never really done a lot of damage on the hard court or indoors. For that fact, Alexei Popyrin, you probably say, is a bit more suited. Maybe not a bit more, I don't know. I'd say it's fairly evens when it comes to hard court tennis between these two. 7-10 this year from Popyrin. Negative record compared to 10-9. It doesn't fill you full of confidence. The pair of them are struggling. The pair of them aren't in the best of spots. It's not the Toronto Masters anymore, is it? I don't think we're going to get that version of Popyrin. We didn't get it before it, and we haven't had it since. Who's he beat since? Medvedev in Toronto? Oh no, that was the Masters. Yeah, that was the Masters, sorry. Martin Landelus in Cincinnati, and then Emil Ruusuvuori in the US Open. Two challenger players. Jannik Sinner beat him in the US Open. Sebastian Korda beat him last week over in Sweden. It was a close game. I think that what these two do the best are fairly similar. Both of them are going to turn up. They can serve big, more so Matteo Berrettini, and it's the forehand in it. that forehand is money when it's firing. More so for Berrettini. I have not seen anything leading up to this that would suggest Berrettini's going to look like a world beater or look anything like the Italian that we all know and love. As for Alexei Popyrin, like I say, this guy's been struggling more so than Matteo Berrettini. We've seen a little bit more from him, but it just hasn't been anything to write home about at all. 0-2 indoors so far. Whoever can hold the serve the best, whoever's forehand is firing better, that's what's going to be the deciding factor in this. Because the two of them on the day, they possess lethal forehands and very, very solid serves. Matteo Berrettini can hit through anyone pretty much. Pretty much anyone. There's not a lot you can do when that forehand's firing, I can tell you that. Is it going to work for him? I don't know. We just could be in for a war in this one. This could be a bit of a dogfight. I don't think either one knows what's going to happen in this one. We'll see on the day. I'd lean towards an over. Lean towards maybe Berrettini for a say. You can get him around 1.65, 1.7. But then again, I couldn't talk you off Alexei Popyrin for a set either. So we'll move on to Dzumhur and Corentin Moutet. I'm going with Corentin Moutet. Yeah. Look, same in this one as well. Got to the final last week over in Kazakhstan. Had himself an absolute belter against Daniil Medvedev. Can't help but feel that he'd be a little bit disappointed to miss out on that title. You know, it's anyone's in it. You get to a final. I don't care what the odds say. You may as well just go and win it. And it went through like a trying. Absolutely not. He was brilliant last week over in Kazakhstan. Bernard Tomic, Shevchenko, Struff, Alex Michelsen, all in straight sets. And he was just one set away from getting himself that title. So close, but yet so far, as Frankie Valli would say. How's he going to get on against Dzumhur? Will he have enough left in the tank? I'd hope so. I'd like to hope so. You know, we've seen him throughout the Asian swing. It weren't too great. First round exit in Shanghai, come over to Kazakhstan, and then looked fantastic. These indoor conditions really do suit the game of Corentin Moutet. Now he plays Dzumhur, who had to come through qualifying, beat Alexander Vukic, beat Ethan Quinn. So, happy days. I'm pretty sure these played each other this year. They did, yeah, on the clay, Santiago. Dzumhur got that one done in 3, and it was all over the place. Corentin Moutet beat him in Rome last year, head-to-head, one apiece. Do you think Corentin Moutet is going to be blowing out his arse in this one? Do you think he wants to go on yet another run while he's in this indoor form? I'd like to take the latter. I really would. 1.5. There's cash coming in Dzumhur. We've noticed a pattern with everyone who went deep last week. You know, there's cash coming in against them. I get it. I don't blame you. I can't talk anyone off it whatsoever. But if Corentin Moutet is good to go, he should definitely beat Dzumhur on the hard court. I'm just saying. And at 1.55, even if it's just for this one, even if he ain't got much left and it's just going to be for this one, 1.55 for Corentin Moutet today, you know, we could be sitting here tomorrow and saying that was an absolute fucking steal. So that would definitely be the way I'd be looking at that. Obviously approach it with a bit of caution, given the deep run last week. But I don't think he should struggle that much against Dzumhur. This guy's been bang out of form on the hard court. He really has. 9-11, 3-1 indoors, not too bad. It's clay or nothing for Dzumhur. Last season it was clay or nothing for Corentin Moutet. This season not so much. 15-12 on the surface, 4-1 indoors. Like I say, if we can get anything close to the level of what we got in Kazakhstan last week, Corentin Moutet, thank you very much. So we've got Daniil Medvedev, Nuno Borges. It's the same. It's the same once again. Speaking of the devil, you know, now we've got Daniil Medvedev. We've got the other one. He won the damn thing. So the same applies for him. And if I'm being honest with you, I'll have a lot more concerns regarding the fitness and stamina of Daniil Medvedev than that of Corentin Moutet, that's for sure. So maybe that does make me a little bit more confident in Corentin Moutet. I don't know what I'm doing. Turned into Mr. Burns for a second there. I don't know what I was doing that for. But we've got Daniil Medvedev and Nuno Borges. Nuno Borges never really had any success against Daniil Medvedev. They played each other 3 times last year, and the head-to-head is 3-0 to the Russian. Borges took just the one set. That's right, that was the first time in the Australian Open. And it was a 7-5. Medvedev beat him on the grass in Germany after that, and then he beat him in the US Open. Absolutely demolished him last year in the US Open. We could be in for more of the same, providing Daniel Medvedev is fit. But I ain't going to waste too much of your time on this one, folks, because I'm seeing Daniel Medvedev around 1.2, and there's absolutely no way, no chance that's what you got. I'm going near that, and I certainly can't get there with Nuno Borges. It's a good price, big dog, big spread. And he was fairly decent in Shanghai. Got to around the 16. Didn't stand a chance against Alex de Minaur. 7-5 and 6-2. Like I say, Daniel Medvedev did take the title in Kazakhstan last week. And for the most part, he's been solid the past couple of weeks. He was decent in Shanghai as well. Got to the semi-finals. Took a set off Rinderknech. And then coming to Kazakhstan, beat Adam Walton, Fabio Marizan, James Duckworth. And then ring him up, Korda and Moutet in the final. Happy days. I just don't fitness aside, from what we've seen in the past few games, the one thing that has been more than apparent to me in this matchup with Nuno Borges, it's the difference in power and difference in strength. Nuno Borges, he can hang in there with Daniel Medvedev, but he cannot hit through him. I don't think he possesses the power in order to hit through Daniel Medvedev on these hard courts. Not a lot of people do. But Daniel Medvedev definitely possesses the power to hit through this guy, as he's done every single time that they've played. So I don't know why this one would be any different, unless Daniel Medvedev is just blown out of his arse and he's got nothing left to give. So we'll see how he gets on. It's Alan Griekspoor, and he'll be taking on Binach. Who knows what's going to happen in this. This really is anyone's. This is a coin flip if I've ever seen one. Now on paper, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, to split the pair of these two. 32 and 24 on the season for Griekspoor, 10 and 11 on the hard court, 4 and 3 indoors. As for Binach, 33 and 27 on the season, 19 and 14 on the hard court. It's a bit better. And then 2 and 2 on the indoor courts. I say, looking at that, not a lot to split them. According to the odds, not a lot to split them. Getting Binach as a slight favourite in this. Now, this did open up pretty much split down the middle. A little bit of cash coming in on the American. Kind of understand it. I kind of expected it. The main thing that I'm going off in this, I'll admit there's not a lot to go off, but the main thing that's doing it for me is going to be the form, the current momentum and the current form. And if we're going off the current form, then I suppose it would have to be Binach. It would have to be Brandon Nakashima. For Griekspoor looked okay. I mean, can we even say he looked okay in Shanghai? That game against Jensen Brooksby was a circus, wasn't it? That was an absolute joke. I don't know what was going on there. And then the match against Yannick Sinner. I just don't know. Because he put in a decent one against Valentin Vacherot as well. He did take a set off him. And he took a set off Jacob Fernley over in Stockholm in the first round. But then he got sent home in the first round. Comes into Vienna as a dog against Khachanov. Drops a set. But then ends up beating him anyway. I'd love to sit here. I'm not going to kiss his ass for taking out Karen Khachanov. It's a decent win on paper, but Khachanov just looked like he checked out weeks ago, don't he? I hate to say it, but I fear that may be the case for Karen Khachanov. Brandon Nakashima got past Luciano Darderi more than convincingly enough. We knew he would. That was a win that needed to happen. He had to beat Darderi, and he did, and he left no question to be asked. Is it just a slight lean towards Binach? Is that the way we're going in this? It is a match with Griekspoor. Are we just leaning towards the over like we always do? If anything, what I will say, Griekspoor was solid beyond the serve. Solid enough beyond the serve against Khachanov, and we know he can be. The current version of Talon Griekspoor is nowhere near good enough. We know this. We've kind of become used to it. We've gotten used to it ever since Mallorca. He's kind of he's kind of become an easy fade, and he at the moment, even though I hate that word. But it's true. It's true. As much as I don't want to admit it. But you don't stay bad for long. I always say you don't stay losing for long. It's only a matter of time. Sooner than later, I would hope. And selling Griekspoor, I'd say he's better than Brandon Nakashima. On his day, I would. Now, he looks quite a distance away from being at his best. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Brandon Nakashima, like I said earlier, he's been a lot more trustworthy as of late. If we're comparing the two, he's been much more trustworthy than Talon Griekspoor. It was 1.85, he's now sitting at 1.75. I'd take him just for a set. And play that one as safe as you possibly can. You'd run the rest of these two big favourites, two colossal favourites. First one's obviously Jannik Sinner and Daniel Altmaier. Head is 2-1 to Jannik Sinner. Altmaier did beat him on the clay in the French Open 2 years ago. How times have changed. Played each other in Shanghai the other week, 6-3, 6-3 for the Italian. Now, Jannik Sinner has just been playing over in Saudi. He won all them games. He beat Tsitsipas, he beat Djokovic, he beat Alcaraz, all in straight sets. Daniel Altmaier's on a 2-game losing streak, one including Jannik Sinner. And then he got beat by Arnaud Bailey, or by, still don't know how to pronounce his name, the kid from Belgium, over in Brussels in the first round. It was a first round exit. He's not going to beat Jannik Sinner on the hard court, absolutely not. As far as a bet, do you think he can keep it as close as what he needs it to be? Excuse me. Let me just do we think Daniel Altmaier can cover that spread? Probably not. Although I imagine he probably would have done it in the last match. Nah, I doubt it. You're not going to get 6.5. Although you should. 1.01 for Jannik Sinner. That is Jannik Sinner prices. I don't know what you're going to do with it. You're forced to go with Daniel Altmaier. Actually, maybe not. Just look at Jannik Sinner on the spread. He probably covers that. If it's going to be a 6-3, you wouldn't be shocked to see Jannik Sinner get more than 2 breaks of serve in a straight set win against Daniel Altmaier. Absolutely not. So we'll finish off with Alex de Minaur and Filip Misolic. Home favourite, but a massive home dog at the same time. Call it 10-1 for the Austrian in this. I think he stands no chance against Alex de Minaur today. I don't. Rodionov done 6-4, 6-1. Young in there for the most part in that first set. It's alright. You never expect him to win anyway. I've got de Minaur to make it to the semi-finals and then to get beat in the semi-finals, because if everything goes according to plan, I think unless I've completely fucked it up and I've read the draw wrong, you'll be playing Jannik Sinner in the semi-finals. And you'd always fancy Jannik Sinner to take out Alex de Minaur, would you not? So fingers crossed. I kind of feel bad because I'm going to be rooting for him to get to a certain point, and then once he gets so far, regardless of how good he plays, I'm going to be going against him. So it's a bit of a snide play from me, I won't lie, but it is what it is. If it's going to come in, it's going to come in, and I'll take the cash for it all the same. But he definitely gets past Filip Misolic. He beat Hugo Carabelli. We knew he would. It was anything but easy as well. It should have been a lot easier than what the results ended up being. He was well ahead in that first set, ended up losing all his breaks and what have you. And that's a break back right at the end to get that 7-5. He's more suited to the clay, and he's much more suited to the clay. And even if we were on the clay, I'd still go with Alex de Minaur, folks. He's 1.05, same as the Jannik Sinner one. It's either de Minaur on the spread or Misolic plus them games. Or if you lean towards an over. It's entirely up to you. If you're looking for the value, I don't know. I see this being an absolute slap spot from de Minaur. I don't think Misolic stands a chance. I really don't. There's only so much that home crowd can do for you. The question is always the same. In spots like this, how close do you think that the dog can keep it? If you can answer that, you've got yourself a bet. Well, very well, folks. That shall do us. Once again, another day in the bag. Happy days. Good to see you. It's always a pleasure. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you watching the show. Like and subscribe before you go, and I'd appreciate that too. But I'll be seeing you around. Take it easy. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. It's the most important thing. Let me know what you're going for, and I'll wish you the best of luck however you decide to go about your day. Have yourself a good one, folks. Enjoy the matches, and I'll see you tomorrow.